and I'm going to speak on the challenges, benefits, and joys of being a father. March 17th, 1975 was a very bad day for my family. My father passed away. My brother was 14, I was 9, and my little sister was 4. And I'll never forget that day. After all, the pomp and circumstance, the funeral is over, and we're back at the house, and they say, you're by yourself. It's just the family. My great aunt Rael came over, and she sat me and my brother down, and she looked us dead in the eye, and she said, your dad is gone, and you two boys are going to have to be men and help your mom around the house. And those words and that experience of helping my mother and also raising my little sister has developed me into the loving father that I am today. Which brings me to my 2 beautiful daughters, Brianna and Brittany White, which are sitting over here. I've enjoyed raising them and watching Brianna and Brittany develop into beautiful Christian women. Now, I'm going to brag just a little bit here, but both this year finished the semesters at Fresno State with matching 3.8 GPAs. Brianna's in the master's program in higher education, and Brittany is a junior, and she's getting her bachelor's in music composition. So, beautiful women, and I'm just amazed how God has blessed them. So I want to share a few thoughts with you today. We as fathers are supposed to follow the example of God, leading our families to living a godly life. As we celebrate Father's Day, it is important to remind ourselves of what God says about fathers and their role in guiding the family. Now, a note to all young men and men desiring to be a father one day, gentlemen, be a husband first. It is important to note that it is God who created the institution of marriage. He desires that children be brought up in the complete family with both parents. To be a good father, first you ought to be a good husband. To be a good husband involves loving, honoring, nourishing, and cherishing your wife in every way. Ephesians 5:25 says, husbands, love your wives even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. I believe you cannot claim to be a good father if you are mistreating your wife. Perhaps the verse that best sums up the role of a father is Ephesians 6:4, which says, and ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. In this single verse, you will find a father's responsibility in bringing up their children. You will find where the accountability lies, and you will also learn something more as to what is possible when raising children. Ephesians 6:4 starts by specifically addressing fathers. There is no ambiguity as to who has been given the mandate to execute the instructions given. This means that fathers cannot afford to delegate these duties to the mother, the church, the school, or even the children's grandparents. Every father should take it upon themselves to see that they obey what God has set before us. Any father who fails in these responsibilities will be personally answerable to God. Yes. It is therefore up to the fathers to protect the blessing God has given us, since children are a blessing from God. Fathers should not confuse this instruction of bringing up their children in the admonition of the Lord to mean strict rules and harsh punishments for wrongdoing. It simply means that every father should teach his children from a young age who God is, his love, his commandments, and what he requires of all his people. A father should take the time to personally teach his children to do good deeds and to avoid evil. He should teach his children how to live a life that pleases God, following his commandments and his instructions. If a father commits himself to this process, the Bible promises that the children will stay on the path of God even when they are old. Proverbs 22:6 states, Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, my mom never remarried, and so she focused on us her entire life until she passed away. And she would tell us, look boy, I'm your mother and your father. I don't have no money, but if you go out there and do some crazy stuff and end up in jail, guess what? You're going to stand there because I got no money to get you out. And believe me, that scared me half to death. I'm like, whoa. So she had us in Sunday school, 11 o'clock service. Some of y'all remember 3 o'clock service? Bring it back. Old School Baptist, 7 o'clock, BTU. But guess what? We were rooted and grounded in the Word. The Bible highlights some challenges that every father you will have to deal with. One challenge we have in every generation is that fathers must get close to God. It is therefore upon every father to take up that challenge and lead their family to God from the front. Another challenge is the fact that the responsibility of guiding children in the ways of God falls squarely on the father's shoulders. According to Deuteronomy 11:19, fathers are instructed to teach their children the laws of God at all times, whether at home or walking, whether lying down or when getting up. This is a challenge for many fathers, but it is up to each and every father to embrace it. Fathers also face the challenge of living an upright life, both in front of their children and in private. It's hard to lead people when your actions speak louder than your words. Children are very impressionable and are more likely to copy your behavior as they grow up rather than do what you say. You therefore need to ensure that you practice what you preach. It is up to you as a father to discipline yourself and live by the code you want to instill in your children. There's something else that we can learn from Ephesians 6:4, other than responsibility of a father and their accountability, and that is benefits. In a world that is turned away from God, this verse encourages us that it is still possible to bring up God-fearing children. Amen. It teaches fathers how to handle their children so that they grow up to be responsible and godly adults. It shows us that it shows us that it is possible to bring up children who love their families. It also shows us that if we as fathers tried, we can be the spiritual leaders of our families, leading by example. And the best thing is that it shows the beauty of children and their fathers going to heaven together, which is the ultimate goal. A father will also experience joy when they see their children prosper. Proverbs 17:6 exclaims, "Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children are their father." There is therefore immeasurable joy that comes when you see your children grow up to be virtuous and successful people in society. It gives many fathers great pride to see their children avoid many of the world's entrapments and commit themselves to living a godly and fulfilling life. There's also great pride that comes when knowing that your children are on the right path because you committed to teaching them the ordinances of God. If your children teach their children the same teachings, then you know that your efforts were not in vain, and that an entire generation can point to your guidance, your commitment, and your faith. On this Father's Day, each and every father is encouraged to live by the words of Joshua in Joshua 24:15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the flood, or the God of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. No matter how difficult it gets, no matter how much the world changes, let all God-fearing fathers lead and teach their families the way of God. God bless you.